When a woman ignores you, she's trying to break you mentally. But learning her biggest weakness is the last thing she wants you to do. Let me be brutally honest with you. While you're torturing yourself, wondering what you did wrong, scrolling back through old conversations trying to find the exact moment everything changed, she's fully aware of the power she has over you. She sees how you change when she pulls away. She sees how much harder you try when she responds less. She sees how desperate you become when she turns colder. And that excites her in a way she doesn't even fully understand herself. But here's what she doesn't know. Every time she uses silence as a weapon, every time she strategically ignores you, every time she makes you feel like you're not good enough to deserve her time, she's exposing the biggest weakness a woman can possibly have. A weakness so deep that once you understand it, you'll see all her tactics for what they really are. Desperate acts from someone who's lost control. Because a confident woman, a woman who truly has options, a woman who genuinely isn't interested, doesn't need to ignore you. She simply tells you the truth and moves on with her life. But she can't do that with you. Do you know why? Because you affect her in a way that terrifies her. Because when she's with you, when you talk, when you connect, she loses control over her own emotions. And that scares her so much she'd rather destroy the connection than risk feeling vulnerable. So sit back, because today that problem disappears once and for all. You're going to learn the biggest weakness of any woman who tries to ignore you. Let's begin. Silence isn't power, it's disguised anxiety. Let me tell you what really happens in a woman's mind when she decides to ignore you. At first, when she chooses not to reply, to leave you on read, to act cold, she feels powerful. She feels in control. She thinks, now I'll see how important I really am to him. Now he'll value me. But that lasts exactly 5 minutes. Because after those 5 minutes, her mind starts working overtime. And here's where her first big weakness gets exposed: constant doubt. Here are the exact questions that torture her. Is he thinking about me right now? Did he notice I didn't respond? Is he confused, or did he get the message? Does my silence hurt him, or does he not care anymore? And the question that kills her the most: has he already moved on? That one obsession ruins her game, because her entire strategy of ignoring you is built on the assumption that you need her more than she needs you. But the moment there's a chance you've moved on, her power collapses. Here's the brutal irony. While you think she's calm, living her best life, completely indifferent to you, she's actually checking your WhatsApp every 5 minutes to see if you're online. She's stalking your social media to see if you posted something. She's analyzing your every move, trying to figure out how you feel. Her brain works like this. If he posts a happy picture, does that mean he doesn't care anymore? If he doesn't watch my stories, does that mean he gave up? If he's active but not texting me, does that mean he found someone else? And here's the pathetic part. She turns into a detective of your life, asking mutual friends about you, looking for clues in every comment you make online, analyzing the songs you share, searching for hidden messages directed at her. All of this while pretending her silence is about power. But the truth is, ignoring you is her way of testing you. When in reality, she's testing herself. Testing how important she really is in your life. Testing how replaceable or irreplaceable she is to you. And that constant need for proof, that's her first big weakness. Because a woman who truly doesn't need validation doesn't play these games. A woman who truly has power doesn't need to ignore someone to feel valuable. So every time she ignores you, what she's really saying is, please prove to me I still matter to you. And if you understand this, you've already won half the battle. Because now you know her silence isn't indifference. It's pure anxiety. Her game depends on your reaction. Now here's the part that's going to completely change how you see this situation. All the power she feels when she ignores you exists for one single reason. Because you react exactly the way she expects you to react. Let me show you the perfect script she has in her head. Step 1. She ignores you. Step 2. You panic and text her more. Step 3. She plays hard to get a little longer. Step 4. You try even harder to win her back. Step 5. She finally responds, feeling powerful and desired. But what happens if you don't follow the script? This is where her second major weakness gets exposed. She needs your validation for her strategy to work. Think of it this way. If she ignores you and you simply don't react, you don't chase her, you don't send paragraphs explaining your feelings, you don't try to win her back, what power does she have? None. It's like an actor on stage shouting lines with no audience. It's like a magician performing tricks with no one watching. Her whole show collapses because it depends completely on your reaction. Let me give you a very specific example. She doesn't reply to your message for 2 days. Normally, you'd text her, "Is everything okay? Did I do something wrong? Please talk to me." And that's where she wins. That's where she feels in control. But imagine instead, you do nothing. You don't text her. You don't look for her. You show no signs of desperation. You just keep living your life as if nothing happened. Do you know what happens in her mind? Absolute panic, because her whole strategy was built on the assumption that you'd react. Her entire sense of power depended on watching you suffer from her absence. And if you don't suffer, what's left? Here's the craziest part. When you don't react to her game, she automatically assumes it's because you don't care anymore. And that possibility terrifies her more than anything else in the world. Because at the end of the day, she's not ignoring you because you don't matter. She's ignoring you because you matter too much. And when her tactic of silence doesn't trigger the reaction she expected, she realizes maybe she underestimated how much you mean to her too. Here's the truth no woman will admit. They need you to react to their silence because that reaction is the proof they still have power over you. Without your reaction, their power is nothing more than an illusion they tell themselves. And when you don't react, you take away the entire board. She loses power when you're unpredictable. Here's where things get really interesting. Most women who use silence as a tactic have one fundamental belief: that ignoring a man will make him chase harder, that it will make him more desperate, more needy, more willing to do whatever it takes to get her back. And 90% of the time, they're right. Because most men follow that predictable pattern. They push harder when women pull away. They chase more when women run. They try harder when women stop trying. But what happens when you're not like most men? Here's where her third big weakness gets exposed: her fear of being irrelevant in your life. Let me explain exactly how this works. When she decides to ignore you, she automatically expects you to go into recovery mode. She expects to see you more active on social media, hoping to get her attention. She expects you to change your routine just to accidentally run into her. She expects you to become more needy and desperate. But when instead you keep living your life, improving, shining, she goes into crisis because that wasn't in her playbook. That completely breaks her expectations of how men usually behave. And here comes the part that tortures her the most. She sees that not only are you not chasing her, you're doing better without her. She sees you didn't fall into depression over her absence. She sees you didn't stop taking care of yourself, growing, or being social. This confuses her on a level you can't imagine. Her mind starts asking questions she can't answer. Why isn't he fighting for me? Was I really that easy to forget? What does he have that I didn't see? But the question that kills her the most is, does he not need me anymore? Because her whole tactic was based on the assumption that you needed her more than she needed you. But when she sees you can live perfectly fine without her, that you can be happy without her, that you can grow without her, that assumption is shattered completely. And here's where her brain goes into total panic. She starts realizing maybe she needed you more than she was willing to admit. She starts realizing maybe she lost someone who was actually worth it. She starts realizing maybe her game cost her more than she thought. Let me give you a very specific example. Before she started ignoring you, you were always available. You always replied quickly. You always prioritized plans with her. Your world revolved around her. But now that she's ignoring you, she sees that. You're going out with friends you hadn't seen in months. You're focusing on projects you had put aside. You're meeting new people. You're living a full and exciting life. And do you know what she thinks when she sees this? Why wasn't he like this when we were together? She realizes maybe the version of you she knew wasn't the best version of you. She realizes maybe you have layers and dimensions she never explored because she was too busy taking you for granted. And that realization destroys her. Because it means she didn't just lose the man she knew. She lost the chance to know the man you became. Her deepest fear becomes reality, that she's irrelevant in your transformation, that your growth, your happiness, your success have nothing to do with her, that you've found a version of yourself that doesn't need her to shine. And that irrelevance is more terrifying to her than any direct confrontation. She can't stand you comparing her in silence. Now we're going to touch on her deepest wound of all. Even if a woman is completely ignoring you, even if she acts like you don't exist, even if she has built a wall of indifference around you, there's one thing her ego cannot stand: the idea that you might be comparing her to other women. And here's her fourth major weakness: the terror of being replaced without even seeing it coming. Let me explain why this destroys her psychologically. When she ignores you, in her mind, she's still the one. She's still the most important woman in your life. She's still your obsession, your priority, your reference of what a desirable woman is. But the moment there's even the slightest possibility that you're with others, that you have options, that you're meeting new women, her world collapses. Because it means that while she was playing at ignoring you, you were building a life where she's no longer the center of your universe. And here comes the cruelest part. She starts imagining what you're like with other women. She wonders if you treat them better than you treated her. She wonders if you're more fun, more interesting, more attentive with them. She wonders if maybe the problem wasn't that you were boring, but that she made you boring. This question kills her, because it means maybe her whole perception of you was wrong. Maybe you weren't the problem. Maybe she was the problem. Here's a specific example. She sees a photo of you at a social gathering, laughing with a woman. It doesn't matter if it's your sister, your cousin, or just a friend. In her mind, she automatically starts comparing herself to that woman. Is she prettier than me? Is she really laughing at his jokes, or just being polite? Does he talk to her the way he used to talk to me? But the question that tortures her the most is this: is it easier to be with her than with me? Because if the answer is yes, then her whole ignoring game wasn't just useless, it backfired. Because while she was pushing you away, you found someone who was pulling you closer. Her mind starts obsessively comparing. That woman probably doesn't complicate his life like I did. That woman probably makes him feel good instead of confusing him. That woman probably values his attention instead of taking it for granted. And this is where she realizes her biggest mistake. That while she was busy playing unattainable, there were other women being reachable. While she was busy playing hard to get, there were other women being easy to love. But what kills her the most is realizing that maybe those women aren't better than her. They're simply smarter. Smarter because they don't need to ignore a good man to feel valuable. Smarter because they don't need to create drama to feel passion. Smarter because they understand that love is not a power game, and that realization destroys her because it means she didn't just lose a good man by playing stupid games. She lost him to women who were smart enough not to play them. Her silence stops feeling like power and turns into pure insecurity, because now she's not competing with you. She's competing with women who are everything she could have been if she had chosen to value you instead of testing you. Her silence becomes her own enemy, and now we arrive at the final point, the most devastating of all. There's an exact moment where her whole ignoring you strategy completely flips against her. It's the moment where silence stops being her weapon and becomes her worst enemy, because the longer she ignores you, the more risks she runs. Here are the 3 risks that terrify her. Risk number 1, that you move on. Every day that goes by without speaking to you is another day your life can completely change. Another day where you can meet someone else. Another day where you can make decisions that exclude her forever. And she realizes something horrible, that she has no control over your life when she's not in it. Risk number 2, that she loses access to the best version of you. This kills her because she realizes that while she was playing games, you were growing. And now that she wants to come back, she no longer has access to the man you've become. It's like showing up late to a movie and realizing she missed the best parts. Except this movie is your life, and the best parts are the improved versions of yourself. Risk number 3, the most terrifying, that you discover your value and no longer want to go back. This is her worst nightmare, because it means her entire plan didn't just fail, it did you a favor. It forced you to value yourself in a way you never had before. And when a man discovers his own value, he becomes extremely selective. He no longer accepts just any treatment. He no longer tolerates games. He no longer begs for attention. He no longer settles for crumbs of affection. And she realizes that maybe she no longer qualifies to be in your life. Here comes the most brutal revelation. While she thought she was punishing you with her silence, she was actually setting you free. She was giving you the greatest gift anyone can receive: time and space to discover who you are without her. And the version of you that emerges from that process is one she doesn't even recognize. It's a stronger, more confident, more focused version. A version that doesn't need external validation to feel valuable. A version that chooses who to be with instead of begging to be allowed to stay. Her 4th and most devastating weakness is this: the fear that her absence takes her out of the game forever. Because she realizes something she should have understood from the start: that time doesn't stop just because she decides to ignore you. That life goes on, that opportunities appear, that people grow, and that maybe, just maybe, you grew beyond what she can ever reach. Her silence becomes her own enemy because it makes her lose time she'll never get back. Time where she could have built something real with you. Time where she could have gotten to know you better. Time where you could have created memories together. But instead, she chose silence. And now that silence is all she has left. At the end of the day, the greatest weakness of any woman when she ignores you is not the power she seems to have, but the silent fear of losing a man who learns not to need her. Because when a man understands his own value, when he focuses on his growth, when he builds a life that doesn't depend on anyone's validation, he becomes the most attractive man in the world. Not because he's playing games, not because he's manipulating, but because he's being authentically himself. And that authenticity is the one thing that can never be faked or ignored. A woman can ignore your texts. She can ignore your calls. She can ignore your attempts to connect with her. But she cannot ignore a man who has become the best version of himself. And when she finally realizes that, it's already too late. If you want to stop being the one who chases and become the one she's afraid of losing, start by understanding your own value before demanding hers. Because at the end of the day, the man who knows his worth never has to beg for anyone's recognition. And that man is unstoppable. If this video opened your eyes to something you hadn't seen before, hit like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments, have you experienced any of these situations? Which of these points impacted you the most? See you in the next video.